Jonathan Tucker, your show Kingdom is about to return to the Audience Network for its third and sadly final season tomorrow. Can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the third season?
The third season, it's we kind of open with the first 2 episodes. There's my little dog shaking his tail. The first few episodes, like all of our seasons, really about depressing the spring, and then we follow up with that visceral deep dive into family and relationships and addiction, why people fight, what they're actually fighting for. This season opens where I have a baby. We've skipped forward about a year and a half, and Jay is trying to explore what it means to be a responsible adult in a responsible adult world. And it probably doesn't turn out very well.
Well, the thing that's so interesting about Jay is that he's so multifaceted. I mean, on the one hand, he's this very sensitive guy, but he's also an MMA fighter. He's a very talented fighter, but he also has problems with drug and alcohol addiction. Can you talk a bit about some of the ways that, and I wanted to talk about season 2B, which aired a while ago, but that's the one that's up for Emmy consideration. How are some of the ways that Jay grew and developed over these last few episodes?
That's a great question. The show in many ways uses fighting as a conduit for the drama, but really the drama is about discovering who you really are, and how comfortable you can be in your own shoes. So for Jay, over frankly the course of the 40 episodes that we've shot, it's about that. It's about self-discovery. And oftentimes self-discovery is uncomfortable. So you put yourself into that authentic space. And for somebody like Jay, who's an addict, or somebody like Jay who has a hard time being vulnerable, when he finds himself in a place of truth, it hurts. And he retracts, repels, puts up defenses. I think this final season we see Jay moving closer to being comfortable, understanding what is really valuable in his life. I think you find that oftentimes when you have children, when you lose a parent or a relative, those moments that sometimes shock the system into understanding what really matters in your life, or those or the other verb maybe isn't shock, or sometimes isn't always shock. It's kind of just forces you to realize and reconcile with the fact that we're all going to die, and this is a very short journey.
Mm-hmm. With Jay becoming a new father, it sort of brings up the hidden secret of this show, which is that it's more a family drama than anything else. Can you talk a bit about the dynamic of the family and how that's developed in these last few episodes?
Yeah. The show's always been about family. And I think the MMA aspect of it might have scared some people from watching the show originally. But all you need to do is even watch that pilot episode and you realize that this is about friends and family, the families that we make, the families that make us. The sport itself is a wonderful example of that specifically, because you can't fight without a team. Whether it's the supporters in your own blood relatives who are there for you, or the teammates that are required to help train you, the nutritionists, the chiropractors, the sparring partners, the coaches, people who employ you because you can't make a living doing this, who give you those days off. It takes this extraordinary circle of supporters to bring you to the cage. And of course, once the cage closes, literally, there's a pin that closes that cage. It's the loneliest place to be, and the only other person who really knows that is the person you're fighting. So there's this comity amongst those two fighters that you see repeatedly if you watch any cage fighting match, from the smoker shows at a motel ballroom to UFC or Bellator or King of the Cage or any of these other organizations. See this extraordinary brutality, perhaps, if that's how you see the fighting. And then as soon as the fight's done, or even oftentimes in the middle of these fights, you see these guys offering a pound to respect each other, or a hand to pick them up. There's oftentimes decisions for the fight, who's going to win or who's not, and there are the two fighters with their arms around each other. It's an amazing sport, but it's about family. It's a sport you can't extract from family. They are intertwined, and the show Kingdom tries to present that in a very real and sometimes brutal way, because of course sometimes our family members can be our biggest detractors, our largest hurdles.
Well, I mean, you guys as a cast have you do such a great job of acting as a family. I wonder what that dynamic is like between you and the other actors, Frank Grillo, Matt Lauria, Kiele Sanchez, on and on and on.
Everybody arrives with their homework done, and so you're never looking over trying to get an answer from the guy sitting next to you who's done the work that was required. Everybody's present. Everybody's excited to learn. Everybody's hands are up. It's that healthy competitive spirit that it allows for championship work. You can't really have a LeBron James without a Steph Curry. You can't have, you can't have great players in any sport unless they've got a great competitor. It brings out the very, very best in you. It makes you work harder. It makes the work joyful.
And then what did Byron Belasco give you guys as the creator and showrunner that really helped you guys go to that next level?
A sense of fearlessness. I've gotten to work with a lot of showrunners, and the successful ones are the ones that give the opportunity to every member of every department. They give them the opportunity of ownership. So they're not concerned with micromanaging. They hire people that they believe can do the job, and then they imbue the world with their conscious and subconscious work. The big themes, the big themes, and then they let everybody run. That's from top to bottom. From the actors on the show to the prop master to the grips and electric departments.
From 2B, I don't want to spoil anything from season 3 for fans of the show, but from 2B, what were some of the highlights for you as an actor from that group of 10 episodes?
I always, people often remark about the physicality of our show, because we're playing real MMA fighters, and the physicality is something you can't hide, you can't fake. But I often respond that every character is physical. We all eat differently. Different characters move and walk and respond to the world in starkly contrasting ways. But the big weight losses that my character experienced in season 2B were so profound that it was hard to leave those at the gates of our stages. When you're hungry for 6-7 weeks at a time, when you're literally starving for that period, it just it's overwhelming in some respects, and trying to control it or trying to manage it becomes such a part of the job, and that finds itself in very beautiful, real, raw ways in the performance.
Mm-hmm. You bring up the fight scenes, and as you said earlier, it's sort of a conduit. And I mean, Jay in particular is really looking at these fights as a form of redemption. I wonder if you could talk a bit about I guess the self-flagellation of the whole thing.
Yeah, no, that's pretty spot on. Byron is one of the most talented writers, showrunners, producers, directors that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And so much of the greatness in our show, and when you're an underdog, like we are, like Kingdom is, you can toss around big superlatives like that without having to put your ego in check. Because I think there's extraordinary work on our show, and we are all very proud of it. I think that the great parts of our show come from the stuff that Byron, the themes, the dialogue, the character depth that Byron subconsciously puts into the work, and that we find as actors in our conscious and subconscious ways. There's so many, really, actually, even biblical themes to our show, and self-flagellation is one of them. How pain can provide some sort of a salve to our suffering, can provide that redemption to our sins, can hold us back from some of the corporal desires of our beings. So yeah, you know, Jay is an addict. He has wants that he knows shouldn't be filled, and so he tries to circumvent those or stymie them by putting himself into a place of self-discipline, of self-restraint, and he finds that in the training and in the fighting, that these fights are ways in which he can keep himself from overindulging in other parts of his personal life.
Did it get easier, I guess, from a physicality standpoint, these fight scenes?
Yeah, all of it does. I mean, the dieting, the working out, the fight scenes, it's in many ways the same thing that's applicable to all aspects of all of our lives, personally, professionally. It's about figuring out, how can I do less to get more? You know, whether it's you holding a tennis racket lighter, or learning how to be more effective as a runner, more grace as a dancer. Oftentimes when you get to a very high level, it's about really relaxing more, having your muscles relax more, and figuring out the work to wow ratio, the effective and efficient ratio. And for sure, we let go more because we knew more. We relax more because we have trained more, and we kind of were able to dial it in with more efficiency and effectiveness.
And the fight scenes really do serve as a great counterpoint to, as you said, the more biblical themes of the show. I mean, you guys deal with this very highly emotional material. I mean, everything from drug addiction to, you know, Nate coming out of the closet, and all of these really juicy themes. Can you talk a bit about that?
I mean, everybody wins and everybody loses in the world of mixed martial arts. You just can't be a champion without having lost. It's impossible. And if you are a champion, you will lose. And that's life. So you better be joyful in the process. You better love the whole ride, because if you don't, then you subscribe to the heights and you are prey to the depths. And that's a tough way to live. So you have to love what you do. And I think our show deals with that big theme. It finds ways in which to manifest the big theme, that big theme in different smaller examples through each character's journey.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you about American Gods, which you were in, albeit rather briefly. How did that come about, and will you be returning to the show at all?
Yes. So Brian Fuller is a welcomed collaborator. I've gotten to work with him a number of times. And I would have done, I think, more episodes of the show if I wasn't doing Kingdom at the same time. So Kingdom was the priority during that period. And I will, God willing, come back for the second season of American Gods.
Certainly hope so. As Kingdom is getting ready to premiere, what do you hope fans of the show in these last 10 episodes, or newcomers to the show as well, will take away from it?
One of the privileges of being an actor, is you get to walk around with this in kind of curiosity. Everything has something to offer. Everybody has a story to tell. And when you have the chance to honor a subculture, a world, a theme, a person, by reflecting them in a truthful, noble way, it makes the whole ride all the more gratifying. I mean, it makes the ride gratifying, period. So I hope that fans of the show understand and take away the fact that you too can find the nobility in the kind of daily experience of your life. It's about making kind of sacred the ordinary duties of your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much, and congratulations. You guys did some really great work, and I look forward to seeing the rest of season 3 of Kingdom.
Thank you for saying that. Tell your friends, watch our show. Blood, sweat, and tears. We committed everything we had, as did all of our family and friends, and we hope that we didn't just set the bar high enough for the folks who are in the world of MMA, but also for everybody else.
You certainly did. Thank you so much again. Have a good one.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.